Okay, I think 2 minutes passing time is probably good enough. Hi, everybody, and welcome again to our next October user group session. Thank you all for coming. Glad to see you. And again, I am Steve McGillivray, program coordinator here in the Office of University Events and Protocol. I do not work for Aventri. It may not sound like that sometimes, but it's true. I actually work for ASU, but I am one of the two account admins for Aventri here at ASU, and the other being my coworker, Laura Rutherford.
Hey, everybody.
And we are your hosts for the user group. And so we have some things to talk about, and we want to hear from you about some of these features and issues. But just in case you are here by getting an Outlook invite that was forwarded to you by somebody else, which is great. We're glad that you're here. But we just want to let you know that we also have a virtual event site for the user group, which is where we're putting the videos for meetings. It's a sample of the Aventri virtual event system. It's a virtual lobby, and you need to sign up for that. To sign up for that, just go to this URL shown on your screen here to actually sign up. So it's great that you've got the Outlook invite and the Zoom link. Yeah, that's the way you got it. Great. But if you want to get access to more fun with Aventri, more of its bells and whistles, and I have to say a site which we're probably going to leverage for some other future demos. I'm not going to tell you what. You will want to get signed up for the Aventri user group. Okay. So also wanted to give a shameless plug for the last two Aventri webinars Laura and I are hosting on the next 2 Tuesdays. We are wrapping up the term with registration part 2, where we get into in-depth into how to create an event registration for a multi-day, multi-session conference. And then a final part 3, where we talk about reports and functions, a lot of the bells and whistles that you would use as a coordinator for reporting purposes, and check-in, and all sorts of extra fun stuff that you can do in Aventri. But today, I wanted to talk to you about some of the Aventri platform updates, that some of the things that we have done, Laura and I have done, and some things that Aventri has enabled all of us to do. I saw Jason Puckett's name up there, not to put you on the spot, Jason, but we'll get an update to the Alumni Affinity program, which we talked about last time. And today we're going to do a new feature. I know it's just a second episode, and we're already doing new features of a how to create a registration site that can use a payment plan. A lot of times, Laura and I will get multiple questions about the same topic from different sources at ASU. It's like, this is a thing. We should tell people how to do this or what they can and cannot do. And then we'll wrap up the show with Q&A from you. If you have any questions about anything we're showing today or just the Aventri platform in general, there'll be time for you to ask questions and see if you can, I guess it's our version of Stump the Chumps here at the user group. So first, just about the templates. So now last time we talked a month ago, we let you know that we had a new template for event registrations. It's out now, version 4.1.1 at least, is available. It has updates to the ASU branding for event emails, and also has updates to the theme editor used for virtual events. But now, and we just finished deploying these the past week, you now also have new versions of the email templates that we provide to our users, a basic email and an invitation email. And those are in the marketing module. Every unit has a 01 ASU templates folder, and you will find these templates there inside your unit folder. Feel free to clone these and make your own templates, or just clone them for your next projects. But again, these are available to you now. Next, I want to talk about URL masking. This is a new feature I mentioned at our last meeting, but it was not yet implemented, but now it is available to you. And what this is a way for you to get an ASU branded URL for your registration site in Aventri. Previously, we would point you to the links.asu.edu and use those for any forward-facing URLs that you want to use, so it's ASU branded, but this is an alternative and it's inside of Aventri. So let me show you how to turn that on. If you want to go into one of your registration sites, you want to go to the Advanced Settings, General Settings tab, and underneath the miscellaneous, other miscellaneous, you now have this select event domain. And if you select our special ASU branded domain and click Save and Stay, you have now changed that event URL to this new special events.asu.edu. Further, if you like, this also works with the event registration event URL field here. So if you want to make another branded short link with your special wording, you can do that. And what's nice about this is not only is this now you can use this just forward facing in a postcard or a poster, but also when you send people here, they will to the site, they will actually still stay in an ASU domain URL. So they'll know they're in the right place. I mean, before Events Cloud, we haven't had any complaints, but I still think this is nice. People now have some satisfaction in knowing that they are actually on an ASU site. Okay, so very easy. We're going to update our templates in the system, updating it to version 4.1.2 so that it will be enabled by default. If you ever clone future templates, but you can enable this now on any event registration site. Okay, any site you currently are using, any site that you clone from an old site, you can turn it on and it will clone in future once you turn it on. All right, so that is URL masking available to you now. Next, another feature, and actually Aventri hasn't announced this, but it just became obvious that they've given it to us. One of the, a common support ticket item in the past has been people who have forgotten to turn their registration sites live before they allow attendees to come in and start to register. So they have had the situation where they have attendee registrations marked as test, and they want to be able to convert that to live. In the past, you had to go to support, and even Laura and I, to support to request that they convert tests to live. But now, Aventri is giving that ability to you, and this is how you can do it. So you go into your event and into the registrant list, and then click on any of the test registrations that need to be converted. And you now have this feature on the top in the header to be able to convert a registrant from test to live. And there you go. So now you no longer have to go to support to do that. You should be able to see that feature yourself. So it was just more of a friction point in having to worry about going to support for that kind of thing. So now if you do forget to go live and you get a few attendees captured as tests, now you have the ability to convert those folks to live. Okay. Next, just wanted to get an update on the Alumni Affinity program. And again, Jason, did you want to say anything about how it's been going for the last 4 weeks? Have you gotten an uptick in?
It's been going good, but I'm still really only getting the stuff from the Alumni Association, not any other departments that I've seen so far. Okay. I haven't had a chance to go through the list I got this week, but
okay. Okay. Well, again, we just announced it 4 weeks, and you know it's triggered on when the event ends.
Yeah.
So we will continue to monitor that and see how that's going. If anyone's wondering what the heck we're talking about, we have a program available. So if you are willing to share your registrant list information from an event with the Enterprise Marketing Hub, Jason here, who will put that information on alumni into, I believe it's the Enterprise Marketing Hub's, what's it, the Affinity instance?
It's the advancement org of Salesforce. It's
Salesforce.
It's basically the alumni database.
Right. And if you want to participate in the program, this is what all you have to do. You open up your event registration and go to the overview page. You will find on the overview page a tab called the Alumni Affinity. And you click on that tab and you'll be asked, do you want to join the Affinity program? Just say yes and save and stay. And that's all you have to do. Once your event has reached its end date, and this selection is made, then the following week, Jason will have your registrant list emailed to him automatically, so his team can begin sorting and looking for alumni and updating their information in their Salesforce instance. We have a page on our Aventri support site, aventri.asu.edu, on this as well. So if you need a step-by-step, or if you want more information, you can reach out to Jason and his team about how to participate in the Alumni Affinity program. Is there any questions about that? Yes, you do need to do this for each new event if they are not cloned. Christine, that's a great question. Yes, and it actually brings up 2 points. If it hasn't been done before for the event, yes, you have to do it for the event. Once you clone that event and you have already turned it on, that setting will be cloned for any future events from that clone. Okay, so it's a great question. Anybody else have any questions for Jason or about this program? You can either put in the chat or unmute your microphones and just chime in.
I see a question from Lisa Kaplan. Basically, having all of the event engagement data in the alumni database, along with all of their current contact info, because we maintain that, that helps us, when departments ask for a list of their alums, if they want to see their engagement, we're able to pull all that in one place versus us not having it and it's floating around in Aventri somewhere not tied to their alumni record. When we add it all to the Salesforce record, it's all in one place. We have their degree info, engagement info, student activities, their contact info, everything all together on one record. So it just helps in reporting.
Right. And if your unit wants alumni information from that advancement instance, I believe they can reach out to you, Jason?
Yeah, sure. Email me with any questions, or if you're looking for a list, I'm happy to help with any of that. I do get emails from a lot of you regularly. So one other thing about having it all in one place, it's not just engagement with your college or school. It's helpful to see, your alums, they're engaging with these events in your school, but they're also engaging with these other events from WP Carey or engineering or something else. So you can get a better, more full understanding of your alums and their interests and engagement with the university as a whole.
Right. One thing, Jason, and it's on me, I still need to send out an email to all the Aventri users about this program, which has only been really promoted here in the user group the last 2 months. So that's on my to-do list. I think when we get that, we'll also get some more engagement, some more participation with that. So, but that will happen.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, happy to help. If there are no further questions, I'm going to move on. So again, this is one of those topics that we run into, Laura and I run into from time to time, people asking us, can Aventri do payment plans is the common question. And my answer is yes and no. Let's focus first on the no part. So usually when people are asking me about payment plans, what they're looking for is there a system where Aventri can have the attendee come in, say they want to be part of this payment plan, give the first payment, and then future payments are automatically deducted from their credit card or added to their credit card? And that is the no. No, there is no system in place, and it's not an Aventri thing so much. It's a kind of a combination of Aventri, Quick Pay, and ASU, frankly, for why that is not available. ASU is concerned about PCI compliance, which is the credit card security standard. And if they didn't have those concerns, they'd want to see how Quick Pay would do it. Okay, so we don't have that for automatic payment plans or something that the system that doesn't require a registrant to return to make future payments. Having said that, there is a way you can create a system for making payments manually. It's going to require a little bit of work on your part, not only in setup, but also in maintenance. But it would allow you to offer payment plans. It would allow you to have your registrants easily return to their registrations, their original registrations, to submit the next payments. And you can still use features like price points for tiered fees and such. So we have used this for a number of events. So let me show you how I have this set up. And first, the key, the way I've set this up, is using categories and subcategories. So first off, I'm assuming I'm going to have multiple tiers. I've only made the first tier here for general admission, but let's say I'm going to have an employee discount as well and still offer them discounts or payment plans. Here's my general admission. If I go in, I can see I have created 4 different subcategories. Okay. If you remember, if you had training with Laura and I always call categories the first question you ask the attendee when they're coming in. Sometimes you're not even asking. If you only have one category, you've already answered the question. You're going to be general admission. Subcategories are a second question, and which they choose. And so I want to know if they're going to pay the full amount or if they're going to go for the payment plan. And here I've given it this odd name, 3 payments of, but it's because it shows up on the moving forward as 3 payments of and whatever fee I've set when people see this. So there's a method to my madness. Okay, so I've got that. And then I have a subcategory for the second payment and a category for the final payment. So I'm doing a 3 payment system in this example. One of the other keys about this is that people can only see the option for full pay amount and payment plan 3 options of. The visibility for second payment and final payment is turned off for the public users. I don't want them to be able to choose that, right? Because I'm going to use that myself as the event coordinator later. Okay. So that's how we have this set up. Now, I usually do one of these tiers first. Now, if I didn't have any tiers, I could easily have made these categories at the top level. But again, I'm planning on doing a different tiering system. And so I do one like this, and then I'm able to clone this for my second tier. And then all the subcategories clone as well. So for my second tier, we'll call this the employee discount. Lovely. I may go back in there and change some short names for my reporting purposes so I can keep them straight. But so that was lovely. I've got that now. Now, what does that look like on the registration page? Okay, so I'm either general admission or employee. Second page, here's my second question. Am I paying full plan or payment plan? 3, this is where my little wording comes into play because I'm showing what that price is. And I've already set these prices. Okay, so I got my category set. Now I can go into fees and payments. I've already set the payments for the first tier, if you would. So I'm putting a full price of $600. And this is how I have to set up the other categories is you do it in increasing amounts. So how much do I want for the first payment? And then how much do I want for the final payment? Well, I want the full amount, because what's going to happen is Aventri is going to know, as I start switching categories on folks, how much they've already paid. So when I send them the invoice or the email to say it's time for your second payment, Aventri will be able to tell them you owe this much as your balance. Okay. So for the employees, let's do just because the math is easy. Okay. All right, so my fee structure is set. After I'm finished testing, I am ready to make the site live and have people come in. I do have some special event emails I'll touch base. Well, I'm going to touch base on these now since I've mentioned it. So the confirmation email, I do such things as just mention, if you are paying by the payment plan, please note these are when your payments are going to be due, and this is what I'm going to do. Little helper text. And I have one confirmation email that goes out to everybody. If I want to go a different way, could I make an email that goes out to those who pay full versus those who have payment plans? Sure, I could do that. I can do that with clones and designating the recipients based on those subcategories. I just choose to make my life a little easier and only have one confirmation email. Okay. So here's the thing. So let's suppose I have already opened up my site. I'm taking registrations and I'm starting to get people who have paid. Next, what I want to do before that next second payment date is I'd want to go in and find the people who have paid, and I need to change their subcategory. Okay. I can do this onesie twosie. I could select them all and go. I do have to do a onesie twosie regardless, but I could do them in a series if I wanted to. So I go into edit selections, change the subcategory from 3 payments of to second payment. So now down here, we're showing, yes, this is what I want to see. The customer has a payment due. Okay, I want this set up for them before they return. So that now I could send them, where did my, oh, no, to a different category because I'm pre-filtered. So let's get rid of the filters. What did I just change? You. So I could do now is I can send them the email, which I have already crafted for, well, that's not very helpful. All right. I missed that in the setup, so let me go and show you what I've got here. Yeah, my bad. So I've created 2 custom emails, one for the next payment due and one for the final payment due. And I've set this up so it could be a scheduled email, or as you see, any custom email, it can be used, sent from registrant list. But this then is the email I would send to folks who I've just changed their category. Okay, with this information. I have a merge code that will pull the balance due. I'll give them information on what I'm allowing them to do. I do have to have modifications enabled on this website, on this registration site. Okay, so they can come back and submit the next payment. But I give them instructions on what they have to do. Okay, now in fact, as it is, I have this set up recipient-wise for anyone with that second payment. In fact, I could add my new category for employees as well. And if I wanted to schedule this as a blast of those folks, I could. So I could go through, update everyone from 3 payments of to second payment, and then schedule this blast to go out to everybody so they can come back and do their second payment. Now, and then I do the exact same thing for the final payment. Okay. After I'm close to that, or when I'm close to that date for final payment, I will then update everyone from 2 payments, second payment to final payment and send. Now, what happens if somebody didn't make the second payment? Well, then they would see an even larger amount due. Okay. So even if they skip, the system can still work. Okay. Still a lot of work on your part. I can't think of any other way to do it. But that is how you can do a payment plan inside of Aventri. Okay. I know it's complicated. Are there any questions from what I've shown you here? I'm trying to think if there's anything I've missed. No, I think that is all. Okay, well, if you want to hear more about this, you want some help setting one up for your unit, feel free to reach out to Laura or myself, and we'll be happy to walk you through this procedure. But that is how you can do payment plans in Aventri. And with that, we're just going to wrap it up. It's been a short session, but now is your chance to ask us any questions about what we've talked about today, or just about the Aventri platform in general. And you also give us some feedback. And is this the kind of thing you would like to see in future user groups? I mean, we're making this up as we go along. And again, we want more of your input on what things you want to talk about during these monthly meetings. Our phone lines are open. Great question. I am brand spanking new to Aventri. How do I create an email for an administrator? If you're talking about this feature at the bottom of the email section, the emails to event administrators. Right. Okay. Notifications for administrators. Yeah, that's this feature. And if you all didn't know about it, if you have somebody who would like to be alerted when something happens in the system, they would like to get an email notification every time someone registers. We have a few people like that. What you can do is come down here and you click create email, and then select what is the trigger for this email. It defaults to incomplete registrations. Probably the most common use is the new registration alert, right? And give it a subject line and customize information down here that you want to be in the email. Like, so of course, obviously your client, what they would like to see. This is what the Aventri default image is. Now, a word of warning for y'all folks. When you're here and you see these email addresses here, these are not ASU domains that are approved for use with our account. So if I was to hit save and stay like this, you're going to get the white screen of death. Okay, we have just learned this recently. So I'm just going to hit the back button. We'll get you back to that page. So you want to update this to your unit email address. Yeah, I still see there.
Yeah, the white screen has been an issue for folks. So
yeah, and I'm sure that's what's spurring the question. And
yeah,
it's wonderful that somebody asked, so we could chat about it, because actually it was on our to-do list. Don't know why that didn't say.
We're actually going to talk to Aventri about the fact that it's just a white screen and it doesn't tell you what went wrong. So we are aware that it's not helpful to have a white screen of death. Yeah. So be assured we're passing it along to our our connections.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. Yep, that's what you got. Yeah, we know. Actually, it has been submitted to support as a bug. And remember, we are in an event email beta. So this is under testing. So if you see things like that, bring it to our attention or feel free to email it right to Aventri support, support@aventri.com. Just in the subject line, put event email beta and what your problem is, and that'll alert them what we're talking about. Do include the event name and number when you talk to support through email so they can come back and check your site and do a review. But yes, that's what's been causing the white screen of death, is not domains, not ASU approved domains. And you've noticed I've added my domains. Now I no longer have the white screen of death. It's also another convention that until you do a save and stay, you will not be able to access the recipients tab. That's also something we've learned in the beta. So if you just get here, everything is good, and you just try to put your mouse over beta, your mouse will have the circle slash through it saying, no, you can't do that. They want to make sure that you have actually created an email before you move to recipients, just so you're not, it's a feature, not a bug. It's to make sure that you know what content you're sending before you move on to the recipients stage. And so to finish this up, so now I've got this email ready to go. Now I click recipients, and for emails to event coordinators or to event administrators, now I put in an email address. And say send alerts. Okay. And what's also nice about this, in version 1 or the previous version, you had to make an email for each administrator. Now, if you are sending this type of email, which in this case, again, was our new registration alert, to multiple people, you can just keep adding email addresses here. So what will happen is anytime someone registers, this person will get an email tickle as designed back in the content section. People no longer want to get their emails, just come back in here, click the delete button, and clear their email address out. Okay. Let's see. One other thing I want to point out down here, because this is the only place you'll run into it. We had a choice of using the Aventri built-in single column template system or creating a custom email. For our system emails and for the scheduled emails, we opted to go for the custom HTML templates for that. So those are our templates. We thought people were more familiar with it from version 1. We thought actually a little easier to use and also a little easier for us to maintain. But here you will see it defaults to the single column template system, which looks like this. And it's okay. But I just want to point out that if you are going to use these graphic features here, do remember to not drag and drop images when Aventri tells you to drag and drop images, because they will end up in a place where you will never see them again. You should always use the select files option and upload your images into, actually, it must be in my admin account, into your unit folder. Always be sure you're in your unit folder before uploading so that you can find those images again and you won't lose them. If you do not do that, if you use the drag and drop feature, you may eventually see a missing image because where you're dropping them gets cleared out from time to time. The cache gets cleared. And so if you keep seeing broken images on your registration sites or emails, that's probably what's happening, is you're not saving your images in the right place. All right, great question. Be nice to get an email alert when your event category has reached capacity. That's an interesting idea. That is an interesting idea. And I'm coming up blank on any way to currently do that in Aventri. But But yeah, we can pass that along as a feature request. I suppose logically it would be another email to event administrator, and then yeah, you get an email when some capacity limit has been reached. Laura, are you thinking? Can you think of any placement or Aventri that could be triggered by that?
No.
Yeah, so that's a great idea, Josh. And as I said, we'll just take that and give it to our Aventri account admins as a feature request. No idea if it'll get on their timeline or on their development pipeline, but they love to hear from our clients, and
it's a really good suggestion.
It is a good suggestion. Just leave it at that, and we'll see what happens. You just never know. Elena would like another demonstration on the ASU event link feature, and sure, I'd be happy to show you that. You want to go into your event registration and go into the Advanced Settings tab, General Settings. And then third section, the other miscellaneous section, you'll see the Select Event Domain. Simply click on what will be blank for you when you arrive. Just simply select the special events asu.edu and hit Save and Stay. And that will change your event URL from the Aventri branded URL to now our new URL. If you'd like to take that a step further and add something that's not, what it does is it adds the URL with your event number after it. That's standard. And as I've said during trainings, if you're just putting this URL behind a button on a web page or in an invite email, it doesn't matter what the URL is per se, but if you're displaying it on a postcard or a poster, this can be a little nicer. And I said, it's a little bit more comforting, I think, to folks to end up there. But getting back to, if you want to add a little short name afterwards, you use the event URL here. We'll add it to our URL mask. Okay. Great questions, guys. Great questions. It is Stump the Chumps. I think we've only had one. One that we've have to send to somebody else. Well, let me open up this question back to you guys then. Is there anything you would like to see during these user groups? Is there any particular module you'd like to know about? Is there a process you'd like to know more about? Is there a type of event you're having challenges with, or a feature you don't quite understand? What would you like to see in future user groups? If you're too shy to say, I mean, you could always direct message Laura and I during Zoom, or you can also send us an email, aventri@asu.edu, with ideas. Deep dive into wait listing. Okay. You could do that.
We're totally open, you guys. So like he said, feel free to reach out and let us know. We might send out a survey. Aventri for Dummies.
Well,
we've actually got a class for that.
I was going to say that you've missed our Aventri Essentials class, but we'll be offering another series of those webinars next term. I'll put it on my to-do list to have a schedule to announce by our next user group and a way to sign up for those. As well. How many people here have taken any of our webinars? You can use the raise your hand feature of Zoom or. Oh, great. Wonderful. That's great. That's great.
One question I have is for some of our events we have to use, I mean, I know Docusign is going away, but for when we need students to sign out the risk forms, is there a better way to integrate it into possibly Aventri? What I did, which I guess I can share, what I did this past time is I had our technology office create a short link to a DocuSign for 2 of the forms that we need to have students fill out. So a risk form as well as a photo waiver. And I included the link itself into Aventri as a question saying, and the answer was like, yes, I filled this out. And we had some issues when students were using a mobile phone because there was no way in Aventri to, at least for a link, make it open up in a new tab. So what ended up happening was a lot of students opened up that link, filled out the DocuSign on their phone, and then it completed, and it like basically left their Aventri registration as an incomplete. And then they got very confused when I was emailing them, telling them they were not actually registered and they had only completed the DocuSign, which was a lot of fun emails.
Right.
But is there a better way to either integrate into the system or have it as a link in there just so we can, because I would rather have students have already filled that out in the registration process than having to scramble on the back end. It just would be a little bit easier that it's all done in one fell swoop, but I wasn't sure if Aventri had some sort of capability to have their attendees like fill out like online paperwork.
Right. Well, so first off, you've hit the problem with trying to have any system that would have people fill out a different form during the Aventri registration process. They're leaving Aventri and they are not completing their registration. Okay, that's one reason why we don't have it. You only have 30 minutes to complete, and I never, in fact, I don't like to put any links inside my registration sites that take people away because they might not realize that they're not really completing my registration form. We have a page on DocuSign on our Aventri support site. So our recommended way, and this partially solve one of the issues you're talking about, we recommend that you put the links in the email or in a secondary confirmation email saying, hey, here's the forms you need to fill out, so they can fill it out. The other part of that is we have been suggesting that instead of just a straight DocuSign form, you create a DocuSign power form. And what a power form is, it's a system that allows you to turn any PDF DocuSign form into a form where you can control and monitor and maintain how it's being received. So if you'd used a power form, which is just you have to ask UTO to convert your DocuSign into a power form, but it's a link-based system. If you had gotten a power form link, then the person who had filled out the form on their phone, it would have been saved inside DocuSign, and they could have got the confirmation email that had been submitted. You could have gotten an email saying this person has submitted a power form. Go to your DocuSign account to review who's gotten it and so forth. But again, I suggest doing that after they've finished filling out my registration, because that's like, I want them to capture my information. I get that because there's no way to get them back to Aventri after they submitted that form, you're risking an incomplete registration. But on a related topic, you are the second person to tell me that DocuSign is going away, and I have not heard this before. Has a enterprise-wide announcement been made? Is this common knowledge and somehow I've just missed it? What is replacing it? Does anybody know?
I think Adobe, is it Adobe?
Just using the signature feature in the Adobe Acrobat?
I think so. I think I saw it on, it's like the ASU IT community Slack. But I think it's going away in June. I think June is when ASU is not using DocuSign anymore. And I want to say Adobe, but I could be incorrect and somebody else could chime in with maybe what
right. Well, just because I know a lot of people are going to be freaking out about that because we've been using DocuSign.
Yeah,
so
I want to say it's Adobe, but I could be wrong. But I know ASU already figured out a different system. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Adobe.
Okay. Yeah, Adobe Sign. Yeah. Okay, well, I've seen that might be a future user group feature. Interesting. I'm always curious with IT stuff. Will that be a true end of life and just not working, or like other IT systems that I'm familiar with, where they announce it and then people start to freak out as it's closer to its proposed end of life? Tune in next week or next month, and I guess we'll find out. Interesting. Now I've got to do some research and learn how to do Docusign. Okay. Does that answer your question, Joshua, about DocuSign? I mean, I get where you're coming from. We do have these forms. There are events where you want to get the photo release or the security release filled out, and they're just always a pain.
Yeah, I just wish there was some magical way that it all could be done in one, but I understand Aventry's like limitations, but
yeah, and if they did, it's the two issues is the taking you away from registration, not getting you back to complete, but then also doing it within a time frame. Those are the two issues. We have, at the account level, we can set how long a registration is open until we get that incomplete, and it's set at 30 minutes. Nothing we can do to change it. That's its highest it goes. So then the alternative I've come up with is just, again, these power forms where you can at least somehow monitor that people have gotten the message and that they're doing what they're supposed to do, so you can keep track of that. Now you can still keep track of that in Aventry, or at least sync manually. You can create attendee info fields that only you as the admin can see, in which you're able to say, oh, I see so-and-so filled this out on my DocuSign power form, so I'm going to mark them in Aventry as done, and then I can send an email to people who haven't got that checked to remind them they need to fill that out. So I can still send them emails from Aventry.
In Aventry, is there an easy way to like check mark, or I mean, I don't know if it would just be like creating a different category and manually moving people?
No, yeah. Well, I think I've done this. I just create an attendee info question for that kind of record keeping. And I just make sure that visibility is turned off, so that public visibility is turned off, so only I can see it. So, I guess we're talking, did they?
So just be a secret question that you
just for internal purposes.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do. Because public is turned off. Yes, I want to see all categories. Because public is turned off, right? They do not see it. They don't see it, but I can go into my registrant list. I would probably make a special view where I have that new field so I can see it. Right. And then, so as people come in, I could say, these people filled out the form. I can mass update their record with, did they fill out their form field? So there I've got my record in Aventry. And come to think of it, now with the new event email beta, where you can filter based on a question, that's how I could then program an email to go out to the people who do not have the yes to remind them to fill out the form. So I could have a field like this for each form I need to fill out, and a way of me keeping track in Aventry, who's done what they need to do and who has not done their homework. That's not too troublesome to do it that way.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
think, yeah.
I did have an inquire about, so I know within the event email system, there's obviously the confirmation email that's like already baked into the system. And I see there's a second confirmation email. Is it just the fact that it's basically just another email, or is there something else that would trigger that to go out, not go out? We're just kind of wondering, like, what makes the second confirmation
Right.
different than the first one?
As far as I know, system wise, there's no difference. I think it's just more to keep an event coordinator's head straight. Because you can actually have multiple emails based on the initial confirmation trigger. Having said that, I often use the secondary confirmation for paid events because I create a special email that has a link to the receipt for folks. And so I would use the secondary confirmation restricted just to my categories. Let's see, you're saved. So the initial confirmation goes to everybody with times and dates, but I'd make a secondary confirmation for anyone who's paying money with a link to the receipt. And that way they only get the secondary email if they paid, if they need to pay. So yeah, but system-wise, that trigger, I'm not sure why they created a secondary confirmation. I suppose it's a question to ask support or our account admins if there's a difference, but as in my experience, there's no difference.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Lisa, you've had your hand up, at least in Zoom. I can't tell if you're just waving at us. You have a question?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Didn't want to ignore you in case you actually had a question. Okay, well, if there are no further questions, and this is great. This is just the kind of interaction that we were hoping to have, and not just answers from Laura and I, but if you have solved some of these problems yourself and you want to offer a solution to any of these challenges, feel free to chime in or post on the Slack channel. This is great because what's the old saying? No one's as smart as all of us. But with that, I think we'll call it the end of the meeting. So thank you again all for coming. And again, this is being recorded. As soon as the Zoom is processed, we will post this to the Aventri virtual event, and you can go back to the recordings from this meeting and past months. But again, give you 5 minutes back to your day. So thanks everyone for coming. Keep those questions coming. All right. Bye now.
Bye, everybody.